So overall, I would say skip this as any sort of side hustle business. So I'll pop it up on the screen here, but you can see that my shop in its lifetime has made just under $6,000. Hey everyone, today I thought it would be fun to walk through my past side hustles and give them a ranking. So I'm going to be sharing my opinion on these side hustles, how much money I made, and my overall takeaways. And to quickly introduce myself, I'm a former corporate engineer turned life coach, and I'm here to help you start your dream biz so you can leave your 9 to 5. So first I'm going to talk about the criteria that I'm using today to rank my side hustles, and then I'm going to walk you through each one by one, talk about how it went a little bit, tell you how much money I made, and give it an overall rating. And at the end, we'll review kind of the overall scores that each of these received, and I'm going to share my overall takeaways. So starting with the criteria that I used, I had 4 categories to rank each side hustle. And those categories are effort, potential profit, time to profitability, and longevity. So effort is a reflection of how much work goes into this side hustle and kind of how consistently you need to put effort into it to maintain it. And so this category ranges from kind of high effort consistently to more of a passive side hustle once you've gone through that initial startup phase. So potential profit is exactly what it sounds like. It's how much money you can potentially make doing this side hustle. And this one won't be based entirely on my numbers. It's going to be based on what I've seen is possible through other people running this sort of business. So this category generally will range from kind of low profit, and the middle is kind of the ability to make $100K a year, and then the high end is making multiple 6 figures and beyond. So the third category is time to profitability, and this is an estimate of how long it could take to start making money from this side hustle. And this category is really subjective, but I've tried to base it on what I experienced as well as generally what I see other people experiencing. But of course, there's always going to be those people that kind of nail their social media, build their audience really quickly, and their business just takes off. But not everyone is that case, and so I'm trying to present a more realistic view on these side hustles because chasing after get-rich-quick schemes can be a huge waste of time. So this category ranges from less than 6 months to 2 years or more. So the last category is longevity, and this one's pretty subjective, but it's kind of my take on how long will you have to grind it out in this side hustle? Is it something that you're always going to have to be putting work into, or is it something that can kind of, with systems over time, become something that's a little bit more passive? And this category also includes my take on, how hard is it to maintain a business in this niche? Is it pretty saturated? Are there lots of people trying to do the same thing? And this last category isn't to deter anyone or to try and say that it's not possible, but it is important to have a realistic view on how many people are trying to do the same thing and what this side hustle really looks like. Because I find that some people tend to make these side hustles all look a lot easier than they actually are, and they make it seem like it's super easy to just start making 10K months, and in reality, it's not always the case. So like I've said, this ranking system is completely based on my own opinion and observations. It's not very scientific, but it can just give you a taste of what these side hustles are really like from the average person who doesn't blow up and start making 10K months right away. And as far as scoring, I used a 1-3-5 scoring method because that's the easiest to just quickly assign a score to each of these categories. So now let's talk about the side hustles that I tried, and these are listed in the order that I tried them. So the first side hustle that I tried way back in the day was a Poshmark shop. The second side hustle was photography, and for me, this was turning a hobby into a business. The third side hustle that I tried was Etsy digital downloads, and this was because I was interested in graphic design at the time, and I sort of was dabbling in that area and decided to try starting an Etsy shop. And the fourth and final side hustle that I tried was a YouTube channel. So I did have a YouTube channel before this channel that I tried to just dip my toes into the YouTube world. I was curious about what the back end of YouTube was like, and I saw so many YouTubers experiencing success. I wanted to see what it was like. So now I'm going to grab my laptop and I'm going to fill out a little spreadsheet and I'm going to talk you through the rankings that I'm giving each of these side hustles. All right, so here's the little spreadsheet that I made, and you can see I've included my ranking system on the right-hand side, and I'm going to fill out this table here on the left. So starting with Poshmark, effort-wise, Poshmark is a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort to source the clothing. You kind of have to go to either the thrift store and, sort through a million hangers in a day and make sure there's no tears or stains on the clothing, or you go to the bins and you are sorting through a ton of clothing. And once you have your items, you have to take them home, get them ready, take photos, create your listings, and then within Poshmark, you're also constantly advertising your listings and providing customer service to people who are interested in the clothing. And then the last step, once you've made a sale on Poshmark, is to package it up, print your label, go to the post office, and send it on its way. And so overall, this process is really effort intensive. And so for that, this category gets a 1. And so just so we're all clear, 1 is kind of a bad score, 5 is a good score. The best side hustle would get a 20 out of 20 score. And so potential profit. Again, Poshmark is not great for potential profit. I find that thrift stores are quite expensive these days. And so a lot of items you're getting for like $7 or $8 to up to $20, and you're trying to resell them on Poshmark, and the profit margins are pretty low when you consider Poshmark fees and the cost of shipping goods. And this is also coming from the Canadian perspective. So for me, this one gets a 1. Poshmark might get a better score in the US, where you can shop at the Goodwill bins and buy clothing for like 50 cents a pound. But as far as it goes in Canada, it's pretty hard to make good money. So time to profitability. So this one, Poshmark gets a pretty good score on. I'm going to give it a 3 because you can definitely make money within the first year. You probably won't make a lot of money, which is why the last category got a 1, but you will make some money off of this if you are smart about it, or if you can get a good lead on clothing that's pretty cheap. And longevity, for me, this one was just a constant grind. And I also find there's a lot of people trying to run Poshmark businesses. So the last time I was down in the US and I went to the Goodwill bins, there was a ton of competition at the bins. And also the clothing at the bins wasn't great. So this just didn't feel like a business that you'd want to do for the long run. So Poshmark gets a score of 6 out of 20. So moving on to photography, this was something that I already had a skill in as far as doing it as a hobby. So this was something that was pretty easy for me to turn around and start producing high quality photos. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If this is a brand new skill to you, it would probably be a different level of effort to start this business. So effort-wise, if you're just starting out, photography is quite a lot of effort as far as going to the shoots, setting up shoots, the time it takes to drive there and take the photos, and then the editing time for me is what I consider to be the majority of the effort in this business, as well as the social media. Photography requires a lot of social media presence. So for me, I'm going to give photography a 2. I find it to be quite high effort, especially in the beginning when you're just getting started. You're doing everything by yourself. It's a lot of photo editing and a lot of time plugging your content on social media. So as far as potential profit for photography is going to get a 5 out of 5 because you can make multiple 6 figures a year as a photographer. And it may not be right from the beginning, but it's definitely the potential in this career path. The time to profitability here, it's definitely possible to sign your first clients within the first 6 months. So I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. And longevity. So I think this one would get a 4 out of 5. I think that long term, it is actually quite scalable. There is a lot of people trying to do photography and there's a lot of competition, but there's also a lot, because it's your art, you can really stand out and just attract your own unique audience here. And it may not be right off the bat, but with systems and other things in place, this can be quite a good career path. So moving on to Etsy digital downloads, this one I would give a 4 as far as effort. I think it's one of those that needs the initial startup effort to create your digital products. And then if you can manage to stand out on Etsy and rank in the search results, it can be a lot less effort long term. Though I would say that if you sort of put 20 items in your shop and set it and forget it, that your shop will kind of lose traction over time. And I say that from experience. So moving on to potential profit, this one I give a 3 out of 10, and I think that's pretty generous. This is like best case scenario because I have seen people on YouTube that are ranking in the search results. They have a lot of products, they get a lot of sales, and they are able to make around 100K a year from their Etsy shop. Is this realistic for most Etsy shops? I'm not sure, but it is possible. So with digital downloads, they're profitable right off the bat. So the thing here is if you can get the traffic, you're going to be profitable right away. So if you can start to drive traffic and make sales within the first 5 months, you'll be profitable right away. So this one gets a 5. So as far as longevity goes, Etsy is highly competitive. There's a lot of people that want to make passive income off of digital downloads. And so this is something that's doable, but I would say make sure you're passionate about what you're doing because it is a very competitive market and you'll have to stay on top of your shop. It's not really a set it and forget it sort of thing, unless I guess if you're ranking in the first page of Etsy and you've got a lot of traction already. But if you're a new shop, it's definitely going to require your time and attention. So I'll give that one a 3. All right, and YouTube channel. I think so many people are interested in YouTube these days, and you see so many huge YouTubers that look like they're making bank, and it just seems like that would be so cool to do that. But let's talk about what it's really like starting a YouTube channel. So effort-wise it's not that bad. I'm gonna give it a 3. Maybe in the beginning, before you're kind of used to everything, it can feel a little overwhelming. But once you get into the hang of things and you've kind of got your systems and everything, it's pretty easy to produce 1 video a week. Moving on to potential profit, YouTube, of course, has the potential to make multiple 6 figures, so I will give it a 5 here, but does everyone make multiple 6 figures? No, so you have to keep that in mind. This is potential here, this is the dream, but it's not necessarily the reality. So now let's talk about time to profitability. This one is so variable because some people can just blow up a channel overnight. It seems like they started and they're already monetized in like a couple months, and they're within 6 months to a year, they've replaced their full-time income and they're like a full-time YouTuber. But that is definitely more rare than what most people experience on YouTube. I would say time to profitability, this one's gonna get a 1 because YouTube can take a long time to make money. You could get monetized in, let's say, 1 year, but even once you're monetized, you're making like $1 a day. So obviously that's not enough to live off of. So for that reason, this category gets a 1. So as far as longevity goes, YouTube is definitely something that once you've kind of gotten into your groove of things and say you're doing 1 video a week, that is very sustainable. There are a lot of people trying to be YouTubers at this time, so I would say that it's a little bit more of a saturated market, but the nice thing about YouTube is that it's searchable. It's not really this black box algorithm where you don't know what's going on. You can use keywords and you can actually show up in search results, and you can have YouTube recommending your videos. And YouTube can be recommending videos from years ago. You could have a video that you made like 3 years ago that suddenly the algorithm starts picking up. So I would say as far as that, this is a really good side hustle for longevity if you're willing to put in the time it takes to kind of get to that point where the wheel is actually turning. So I will give this a 5 out of 5, but again, the YouTube scores here are really like best case scenario, and it may take a really long time to get to this point. So as you can see, Poshmark came in last with 6 points out of 20, and YouTube came in second last with 14 out of 20. Etsy digital downloads came in second with 15 points, and photography came in first with 16 points. But definitely take these rankings with a grain of salt because these are based on kind of the best case scenario or having the patience to wait a couple years for it to build up to the point where it's actually performing the way you'd want it to perform. So overall, I would say Poshmark, skip this as any sort of side hustle business. It's a lot of work and the profit margins are just too low to justify grinding it out for this type of business. With the caveat that that could just be because I'm in Canada and we don't have the Goodwill bins, I can't buy bulk clothing at 50 cents a pound, and I'm buying things at the regular thrift store for like $7 to $20 an item. As far as how much money I made on Poshmark, I basically broke even on this side hustle. So this was more of just a hobby that paid for itself. I really liked thrifting, and once I was done with things, I would just resell them on Poshmark. But like I said, because I was in Canada, the cost of goods is a little too much. Shipping is also more expensive in Canada. So all of these things ate away at the profit margins, and this hobby ended up basically paying for itself. And I don't have any screenshots because this was quite a number of years ago and I've closed down that account since then. So you'll just have to take my word for it that I basically broke even on this and didn't really make a profit. And if I was making a profit, I would be paying myself a below minimum wage rate because of the amount of time that went into this side hustle. Moving on to YouTube, the overall takeaway here is that this has a really great long-term potential. It's very doable. You could definitely make one video a week in your spare time. But the problem with YouTube is it could take, let's say, a year for you to get monetized. That's how long it took my YouTube channel to get monetized. And that channel is only making like $1 a day. And I will say that I've kind of neglected that channel a little bit. So I think if I had been really consistent with that channel, it could have been a lot bigger than it is now. But when you're first getting started, you're going to be so excited that you're finally monetized. And then you're going to see that you're making like 5 cents a day or up to like $1 a day in the beginning. And you're going to realize, this is kind of not as exciting as I thought. And you realize that, you get over the first hurdle of YouTube, which is getting monetized. And then the next hurdle is sticking with it long enough to actually start making a decent amount of money from YouTube. So the takeaway here is that if you're interested in starting a YouTube channel, I would say make sure that you enjoy videography, that you enjoy making videos, and that you really are passionate about whatever topic your channel is going to be about, because you're going to have to make a lot of videos and you're going to have to talk about these things for a long time before you potentially make money from these things. So as far as how much I've made on YouTube, my YouTube channel has made a whopping $380 between 2022 and now. So I'll pop it up on the screen, but the first day that I made a profit was January 10th, 2022, and I made 72 cents that day. And like I said, you can see on the screen that there's this big gap in uploads, and because I was kind of not as passionate about that channel and I got to the point where I was monetized, and then I was kind of disenchanted by the fact that I was making like no money off the channel. And I took a couple breaks from this channel, so that's definitely something that slowed down the momentum. So Etsy digital downloads, this one's such a hard one to kind of have a takeaway on. It's something that if you don't need the money to survive and you're just looking for a passive, fun money generating side income stream, then Etsy could be a good shop for you, especially Etsy digital downloads. I don't have any experience selling physical goods on Etsy, so I can't speak to that. This is a pretty good income stream as far as like side fun money. The digital downloads that I created took me, it's hard to say, I wasn't really tracking my time, but probably a good week, and by that I mean like 40 hours worth of time to kind of create the product and create the listings and get everything ready to go. And I've pretty much like set it and forget it from then on, and my shop has generated consistently like $100 to $500 a month from the time that those were posted. So I'll pop it up on the screen here, but you can see that my shop in its lifetime has made just under $6,000. And keep in mind that that's between 2021 and now. And I will say that I basically uploaded the handful of products that I did to the shop and then kind of left it there. So I think, again, this could have been a lot more money if I had been consistently stocking the shop with more products and having more products rank in the search rankings. Again, for a shop that I haven't really put a lot of work into, it still made me over $600 this year. And just so you know, if you're one of those people that are curious about starting an Etsy shop or you're kind of in the Etsy world already, I did not use any of those Etsy search word ranking tools that you can buy or add to your browser. I didn't use any of that. I actually got my idea from something that I was already interested in. So I was already kind of in a niche area as far as like a hobby and an interest that I had. And I saw a gap in the market and I saw something where I could produce a product that people might want on Etsy. And so that's what I did. I didn't use any search ranking tools to see how many people were searching for this. I just put the product out there. I saw the gap and it looked like people actually needed it because I've made almost $6,000 now since then. And so this may be an approach that you take if you want to stand out on Etsy and you feel like it's just so saturated. There's so many people trying to have digital shops on Etsy these days. So my advice would be to really lean into what are you already kind of an expert in, or what do you know more than the average person about for whatever topic that you're interested in? And is there potentially a gap in the market as far as digital products go for that topic that you're already interested in? Or can you create a product that people that have the same hobby or interest as you could need and would find useful? So if you want to be successful on Etsy without kind of grinding it out and being competitive and trying to be competitive in areas where there's already a lot of people, like art downloads or wedding templates or resumes or whatever people are saying is like a great way to get started on Etsy, you could just lean into something that you're already passionate about, you're already kind of an expert about, and you could create a product from that place. All right, so let's move on to photography. This one, I don't want you to focus in on like just photography. Think of this category as more of a service-based business. So this could be someone that is a photographer or a graphic designer, or maybe even someone like a plumber, right? It's just a service-based business. And so this one scores so well because you can start offering one-to-one services to people right away. Right off the bat with this business, you can start making money by providing one-on-one services. But these types of businesses are great because they can scale. So over time, you can build up systems that maybe make it a little bit easier. Maybe once you have more cash flow, you can hire people and take some of the workload off of you and help your business scale that way. But you can also leverage your one-on-one service offerings and the things you learn through that into another sort of offering for people. So in the example of photography, there are so many photographers these days that are offering, they sell their presets, or they sell, let's say, a posing course, or they sell other sort of digital products or educational material to people who want to get into photography. So I can see a path where you could one day do that and have a whole other somewhat passive income stream that doesn't require your one-to-one time to make money. And I also see a lot of channels on YouTube now that have completely blown up where people are a service-based business like lawn care or area rug cleaning. And these channels are huge now. And so this is a way for them to grow their audience. They make AdSense money. Maybe they're doing brand deals. So that's another route that you could take to make income on the side if you're willing to put in the effort to record yourself and manage a YouTube channel. So overall, that's why photography or service-based businesses in general get such a good score in this ranking system, because you can get started right away. You can do it part-time, you can do it as a side hustle, but over time, you can also grow your business, grow your systems, and have other passive income streams. And so as far as how much money I've made on photography, this was a pretty short-lived venture for me. I had turned a hobby into a business and pretty quickly realized that I didn't love doing my hobby as a business. So I had taken on a few clients, I had made just over like $500 in photography, and I realized, you know what, this is not the business for me, and I moved on. So this video has ended up being a little bit longer than I had thought, but I really hope that you got something valuable out of it, that it helped open your mind to the possibilities or helped you see these side hustles from a new perspective if you are someone who's considering one of the 4 side hustles that I talked about today. If you enjoyed the video, I would love it if you would give me a like and leave a comment down below what stood out, what resonated, what has been your takeaways from the side hustles that you've tried. And if you enjoyed this content and you would like to see more content like this, then make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.